My husband led the troops to raid my family home. He told me that he had only approached us for revenge. He succeeded. That day, I had intended to tell him that I was pregnant, but before I could say it, I first received the news that my entire family had been executed. I knelt on the ground, begging him to spare my family, but he coldly pushed me down, watching helplessly as my loved ones died one by one before my eyes. I threw myself onto the sword in his hand. Shenyang, I regret it so much. In the next life, I only wish never to meet you again. The usually cold and composed man panicked, his face turning pale as he trembled and rushed to hold me. In this life, all I want is to protect my family and stay far away from trouble. Yet he blocked my way, his eyes red-rimmed as he called me Jiao Jiao. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful stories every day. Now the story begins. Something terrible has happened. Miss, you must run. The maid, Pearl, rushed in from outside, grabbed my hand, and tried to pull me away. Son-in-law. The son-in-law has raided the master's house. My head buzzed, and a wave of dizziness washed over me. Pearl steadied me, and I gripped her hand tightly. Pearl, what did you say? Say it again. Miss, the son-in-law has raided the Liu family. Miss, you must run. Pearl burst into tears with a loud wail. The young master's brother-in-law is coming to arrest you, since the eldest young master hasn't returned. He wants to capture you to lure him back. I took a deep breath and grabbed Pearl's arm. No, I won't run. I'm going to plead with him. There must be some misunderstanding. I simply couldn't believe that my husband, who had been so gentle and caring this morning, would turn around and arrest my entire family. Today is the winter solstice, and also the day my brother returns to the capital. I've been feeling a bit unwell lately, and I mentioned it to Shenyang before he left this morning. He even sent someone to fetch the imperial physician to examine me. He said he would come home early today and return to spend the holiday with me after court. The imperial physician examined my pulse and said it was a sign of pregnancy, prescribing several doses of medicine to stabilize the fetus. Shenyang loves children very much. Whenever we come across a child in our daily lives, his gaze always lingers on them, unable to look away for a long time. Jiao Jiao, how about giving me a daughter? This morning, I was still caressing my belly, imagining Shenyang's expression when he found out he was going to be a father. How can I believe that my husband actually wants to destroy my entire family? Outside, the snow was falling heavily, and Pearl supported me as we trudged through the deep snow, step by step. Miss, the young master won't listen to you. No, he is the only one I can beg for help now. I still couldn't believe it. I had to get to the bottom of it. We had just stepped out of the courtyard when we encountered Shenyang returning with his men. He stood at the gate staring at me, his eyes devoid of their usual tenderness and affection. I held back my tears and stared at him. Husband, they say you raided the Liu family and executed every last one of them. Is it true? Understood. I shuddered, trembling all over, my words stumbling out. Why, husband, did my parents not treat you well enough? Shenyang came from a poor background. Yet my father never looked down on his origins, and my mother treated him like her own son, taking care of everything with utmost consideration. I never expected that my parents' kindness was given to an ungrateful wretch. Why? Shenyang's face was icy, his eyes filled with venomous resentment. Why don't you ask what your dear brother has done? I've been scheming for years, all for this day of revenge. Brother, husband, could there be some misunderstanding? My brother is kind-hearted. Since childhood, he loved practicing martial arts and fighting for justice. In his teens, my father sent him to the military camp. I really can't imagine what grudge my brother could have with him, to make him want to execute my entire family. Misunderstanding. Do you think I'm a fool who wouldn't investigate? Husband, I need proof. I don't believe it. I let go of Pearl's hand, stumbling toward Shenyang. My foot slipped, and I landed sitting on the ground. Shenyang looked down at me sitting in the snow, his expression indifferent. Miss, Pearl helped me up. Miss, be careful of your health. He waved his hand. Take them away. Several of his subordinates rushed forward, seizing both Pearl and me, and locked us in the prison cart before driving us toward the southern gate. The snow on the ground was piled thick, and the cart wheels left deep tracks as they rolled. Along the way, people occasionally grabbed handfuls of snow, shaped them into snowballs, and threw them at the prison cart. The snowballs struck the bars of the cart, splattering onto my face and neck, leaving only a chilling cold where they landed. By the time we reached the southern gate, everyone from my clan except my brother had already been taken to the execution ground. Shenyang sat on the platform, while I knelt on the ground with a sword pressed against my neck. After he finished reading the imperial decree, he ordered the entire Liu family to be beheaded. Husband, I beg you, the Liu family is innocent. Please, investigate this again. won't you?" With tears streaming down my face, I kowtowed to him, begging him, "My lord, I am pregnant, you are going to be a father, for the sake of our child's blessings. Please refrain from senseless killing, won't you?" Shenyang assisted the 8-year-old new emperor in successfully seizing the throne from among the princes, and now he holds immense power. Second only to the emperor, I knew that all the imperial decrees were merely his personal directives. After 5 years of marriage, we finally have a child. I begged him to spare the Lu family for the sake of our unborn child. "Child," Shenyang wore a mocking expression as he walked over, reaching out to grip my chin. "After every time I watched you drink the contraceptive soup, Lu Qingyang, how could I possibly let you conceive my child?" He stroked my cheek with his thumb, leaning in to whisper in my ear, "Or perhaps, the child in your belly is a bastard." His words were like a poisoned ice blade, carving a hole in my heart, and the pain left me breathless. So that's it. I cried and laughed at the same time. I thought it was my poor health that kept me from getting pregnant. He loved children so much, and I had always felt so guilty. I never expected that it was because he didn't want me to conceive. Shenyang let go, allowing me to collapse into the snow. Pearl wept, trying to lift my body. "Miss, please get up first." My whole body felt drained, devoid of strength, lying on the ground with a blank mind. "Execute." Shenyang's voice jolted me awake. I scrambled up, crawling on my knees to Shenyang's side. Grabbing his hand, "Shenyang, make them stop. Tell them all to stop. Please, I'm begging you." I shouted until my voice was hoarse, but he didn't even glance at me. He pushed me away. "Shut up." One by one, my dearest relatives fell, their heads severed, and the white snow was already covered in blood. In the end, only my parents and I were left in the Lu family. Shenyang looked towards his parents in the audience. "It seems your good son Lu Cheng has even abandoned his own parents. Wasn't he supposed to be the epitome of filial piety? What a useless coward." Before my brother had even arrived, Shenyang could no longer wait. "Shenyang, I treated you like my own son, never expecting you to be so scheming to destroy our Lu family. It was my misjudgment of character that harmed the Lu family. I deserve to die 1,000 deaths." My father shouted at Shenyang in grief and indignation. After his outburst, he stood up and threw himself against a pillar with all his might. With a loud thud, blood splattered everywhere. "Dad," my mother looked at my father's body, then glanced at me, before throwing herself onto the blade of a guard's sword. There was no more sound. "Mother." I looked at Shenyang with a bitter smile. "Husband, is it my turn now?" Shenyang looked at me as if I were a stranger, issuing orders to his subordinates. "Grab her, before Lu Cheng arrives. She must not come to any harm." 2 men stepped forward, shoved Pearl to the ground, and pinned my shoulders from both sides. In the evening, my brother rushed over. I never knew that Shenyang, who had once been the top scholar, was so skilled with a sword. He drew his sword to duel with my brother, who was exhausted from days of travel and was no match for him. After a few moves, my brother was pierced through the heart by Shenyang's sword. I have practiced swordsmanship for years, just so that one day I could kill my enemy with my own hands. Today, I have finally done it. Shenyang expressionlessly pulled the sword out of my brother's body, and a large pool of blood gushed from his chest. My brother slowly collapsed to the ground and said his last words to me. Yang, I'm sorry, I couldn't protect you." I broke free from the hands holding my shoulders and crawled toward my brother. "Brother, get up." Blood was still flowing from his chest. The weather was so cold that the blood congealed into clots as it hit the ground. I tried to help him up, but I couldn't lift him. "Brother, get up quickly. The floor is cold." "Miss, you're not well. You must stop. The eldest young master is already gone." Pearl held me tightly. "That's right, my parents and all my family are gone." "Husband, are you satisfied now?" Shenyang leisurely wiped the blood off his sword. Paying me no mind, I struggled to my feet and threw myself against his blade. With a soft thud, blood began to trickle from my chest. It hurt so much. My parents and brother must have felt this same pain moments ago. My blood splattered all over Shenyang's face. He stared at me in a daze as I reached out both hands to grip the sword hilt and pulled it forcefully toward me. With a sickening squelch, more than half of the blade plunged into my body. How wonderful. I'll soon be reunited with father and mother. Today is the day my brother returns to the capital, and also the day we reunite. Father, mother, please wait a little longer for Yang. Yang is coming too. Yang. In my ear was Shenyang's startled cry. I forced my eyelids open to look at him. His face, which had been gloomy all day, finally lost all color. Shenyang released his grip on the sword, his whole body trembling as he stared helplessly at the blood on his hands. "Shenyang, I regret it so much. If there is a next life, I don't want to meet you again. If there is an afterlife, let us be strangers with no connection." Pearl helped me sit on the ground. Miss. I'll stay with you. After saying this, she pulled the hairpin from her head and stabbed it toward her own throat. Imperial physician. Quickly, call the imperial physician. Shenyang rushed over, his eyes bloodshot, pulling me into his embrace, one hand pressed against my chest, the other caressing my face, his entire body trembling. Yang, I've called the imperial physician. Look at me, look at me. I felt myself growing weaker and weaker, with Shenyang's pleading voice echoing in my ears. Yang, please wake up, won't you? Yang, call me husband one more time. Please, I was wrong. Shenyang, if there is a next life, let us never meet again. Miss, wake up, don't cry anymore. How could you have a nightmare from just a short nap in the afternoon? Pearl's incessant chatter filled my ears. My head throbbed with pain, and my eyelids felt as if they were glued shut, unable to open. After lying still for a while to recover, I squinted my eyes, and Pearl's face came into view. Leaving me momentarily dazed, Pearl, I moved my hand to my chest and pressed down hard. It seemed like nothing was wrong. What's wrong, miss? I grabbed Pearl's hand and touched her neck. Before I died, she stabbed a hairpin into her throat and finally fell beside me. Now her neck is as smooth as jade, and the warmth from my palm tells me that we are both fine now. I sniffled and looked around. The furnishings were exactly like those in my boudoir before I was married. Back when I was at the Grand Tutor's residence. So, have we been reborn? Where are father and mother? The master hasn't returned from court yet today. He said he'll be back later. As for the mistress, she's picking out fabric for you. The weather is about to warm up soon, so she's planning to make new clothes for you. It's wonderful that we're all still alive. Of course we're alive. Miss, were you having a nightmare? You were crying in your sleep. I shook my head, unsure how to explain it to her. Pearl said I had been crying very hard in my dream and brought a bronze mirror to show me. Look, your eyes are swollen like walnuts. Pearl was helping me soothe my eyes with a peeled hard-boiled egg. I hope the swelling goes down quickly, otherwise it won't be good to meet the guests looking like this. Are there guests today, miss? Have you forgotten? Today is the day the exam results are announced. The master said he would go to catch a son-in-law under the list, so he'll be back later. Catch a son-in-law under the list. So, I've returned to when I was 14 years old. In my previous life, my father caught a top scholar to be his son-in-law and brought Shenyang home. Shenyang immediately sent a matchmaker to propose that same day. Both families exchanged birth charts, and I married him the year I turned 15 and came of age. I thought I would be happy for life, but in the end, he caused the entire Liu family to perish. Given a second chance at life, I must not let this tragedy happen again. I got out of bed. Pearl, quickly help me get my clothes. I need to see mother. Miss, slow down. Sit down first and let me get you properly dressed. Are you in such a hurry to see Master Shen? What did you say? Pearl blushed and glared at me. Miss, do you think I don't know? You were calling Master Shen's name in your sleep today. I sighed inwardly. She probably thought I had feelings for Shenyang. Shenyang came to the capital over a year ago to prepare for the imperial examinations and quickly gained fame among the scholars. My father, the Grand Tutor of the court, greatly values talent. Shenyang, with his handsome appearance, exceptional talent, and humble attitude, was soon taken under my father's wing. Regarding marriage, my father had previously sounded him out, hinting at the intention to take him as a son-in-law. He indicated that he was not betrothed, did not refuse my father's hint, and even said that since he had no parents, his marriage should naturally be arranged by his teacher. My father had also mentioned Shenyang to me many times before, full of praise for him. I was once overjoyed and even took the opportunity to buy paper and brushes to accidentally run into him once. Shenyang had just taken the imperial examination recently, and today was the day the results were announced. In his previous life, he had ranked first in the first class, and in the subsequent palace examination, he would become the top scholar of this year's cohort. Today's matchmaking under the announcement of the results was merely a formality. As both sides had already reached a tacit understanding, I need to find my mother and reject this marriage proposal before the two families exchange betrothal letters. Mother, I don't want to get married, I want to stay with you for a few more years. I tugged at my mother's sleeve, acting coquettishly. If you don't marry him, plenty of others are eyeing young Master Shen. He is both talented and handsome, more than a match for you. Mother is doing this for your own good. He has no parents. So once you marry him, you'll be in charge of the household and won't have to suffer under the torment of elders. Mother spoke to me earnestly and with deep concern. Of course, I knew she meant well. Now, the matter of my brothers and my marriage is a major concern for our parents. My brother is already past the age of 20, and after a past emotional setback, he has been unwilling to involve himself in any romantic relationships. He has also been stationed at the border for many years. leaving our parents with no way to influence him. As for my own marriage, it is being closely watched by all the major families, even the emperor. The emperor is now nearly 50 years old, with more than 10 sons, 7 or 8 of whom are adults, and the rivalry among the princes is growing increasingly intense. Our Liu family has always been a model for scholars across the land, and my father holds the position of Grand Tutor, making the Liu family a key target for the prince's efforts to win support. My father is unwilling to take sides among the princes, and the relationships among the noble families and influential clans in the capital are complex and intricate. Therefore, the range of choices for my marriage is very limited. In previous years, my parents turned down many matchmakers, claiming I was still too young. Now that I am 14, my marriage must be arranged before my coming-of-age ceremony. If not, I fear the emperor might arrange a marriage for me. Now, the appearance of Shenyang has caught my parents' attention. With no family background but outstanding personal abilities, he seems almost tailor-made for me. My mother told me, "Your father and I don't want you to marry for alliance. We only wish for your happiness. You grew up sheltered under our wings, inexperienced in the ways of the world. If you were to encounter a wicked mother-in-law, she would chew you up and spit you out." Leaving nothing behind, Shenyang's family is simple in structure. Once you marry into his household, you'll be in charge. There will be no need to serve in-laws, and no one will dare to show you disrespect. Then, have Shenyang set up a residence near our home, so you can come back to visit us whenever you wish. Indeed, in my previous life, I married him with joy and spent several harmonious years together. My parents also had no guard against Shenyang, treating him sincerely as their own son. My father taught and supported him, but in the end, he climbed to the pinnacle of power, dominating everything, and annihilated our entire clan in less than a day. While I was trying to persuade my mother to abandon the marriage with Shenyang, my father had already returned, and behind him was a young man in white robes. I didn't need to guess to know it was Shenyang. At the thought of him, I couldn't help but tremble all over. From afar, I could hear my father's hearty laughter. He genuinely admired him. My mother thought I was nervous and held my hand. "You silly child, there's no need to be shy. Your father and the others will be here soon. Wait behind the screen and take a look to see if you like him. If you really don't, we won't bring up the engagement for now." I had no choice but to agree. I hid behind the screen and watched as Shenyang followed my father into the room. At 18, Shenyang was tall and upright, with a face as fair as jade. He carried no arrogance of youthful success, but rather a heavy, somber gloom. I hadn't noticed any of this in my previous life. He greeted my mother with respect and grace, and she looked him over with a smile, the kind of joy a mother-in-law feels when meeting her future son-in-law. My father proudly praised Shenyang to my mother as if seeking credit. "First place in the imperial examination, barring any surprises. He will be the top scholar after the palace examination." Shenyang modestly said it was just good luck, adding that the other candidates were also very strong, and any of the 3 taking the palace examination had a chance to become the top scholar. My mother asked him some more questions about his family, and Shenyang wore a smile on his face, patiently answering each one. I leaned against the screen, clenching my teeth tightly, my heart filled with endless bitterness and resentment. In my past life, it was this very gentle and humble demeanor that easily won over my parents' hearts. Father said he needed to discuss with mother and had someone lead Shenyang to the front hall for tea. "I've looked into the Shun family. They come from a respectable background, and he only has a young brother at home. If you have no objections, let's settle it today." My father stroked his beard, urging my mother, "Make up your mind quickly. The palace examination is tomorrow. And don't forget the emperor still has a few marriageable daughters. Are you trying to compete with the emperor for a son-in-law? Aren't you afraid he might force a marriage decree?" My mother looked utterly incredulous. My father wore a smug expression. "Why not? If the emperor dares to compete with me, I'll lead all the scholars in the world to criticize him to death. My daughter's happiness comes first. As parents, we must plan for our children's long-term future." Upon hearing this, my tears immediately welled up. "We should still ask Yang Yang for her opinion," my mother said, rubbing her temples. For some reason, she suddenly said she doesn't want to get married anymore, and she's very firm about it. Yang Yang is still young and doesn't understand much. She'll come to appreciate our well-intentioned efforts in the future. I wiped away my tears, composed myself, stepped out from behind the screen, and tugged at my mother's arm. "Father, Mother, I just remembered when we went to offer incense at the body temple. The abbot said that a man born in the year of the sheep not only brings misfortune to me but also to our entire family. We must never arrange a marriage with such a person. At best, it would lead to divorce and separation. At worst, it could bring ruin to the whole clan." My mother's face changed color. and she asked my father, "What is Mr. Shen's zodiac sign?" Father sighed. "He was born in the year of the sheep." Yang, are you sure this isn't just an excuse you made up to reject Shen Yang? Father, it's true. If you don't believe me, go ask at the Body Temple. Everyone knows that Abbot Wenhui of the Body Temple is skilled in reading people's fates. I believe if he's truly accurate, he would have foreseen this. My father hesitated for a moment, then waved his hand. Let's set it aside for now. Just say the child is still young and we'll consider it after her coming-of-age ceremony. There's still over a year to go, my father said to Shenyang tactfully. Yang is still young. We only have 2 children, and her brother is rarely home all year round. We'd like to keep her with us for a few more years. Shenyang looked disappointed and tried his best to persuade my parents. He was very eloquent, I knew that. I stepped forward and gave him a graceful bow. Please don't blame me, Sir Shen. It's just that I already have someone I admire in my heart, and in this life, I will marry no one but him. As I stood up and looked up to meet his gaze, the person before me gradually lost all color in his face. His eyes filled with shock and pain. He stared at me for a long time. Speechless, I smiled and prepared to turn and leave, only to hear a voice call out, Yang. Shenyang called my name, his hand pressed against his chest. And he coughed up a mouthful of blood. I believe it would be better for young Master Shen to address me as Miss Lu. His face was as pale as paper, his whole body trembling, his figure slowly sinking as if he had lost all strength, until he crouched on the ground, panting and letting out a self-mocking laugh. It was my discourtesy. Pearl supported me as we brushed past him, and I did not look back. Father said that Shenyang, despite his illness, attended the palace examination the next day. Even so, he spoke with eloquence and answered fluently, earning the emperor's favor and being named the top scholar. The emperor intended to bestow the 6th princess upon him in marriage, but he politely declined, citing a chronic illness. Seeing his sickly appearance, the emperor did not press the matter. When my father spoke of Shenyang, he still had a look of regret on his face. He always believed that Shenyang was the most suitable match for me. When my mother asked me who the person I fancied was that day, an image of someone came to mind, and I sighed quietly. For now, he was the only one I could count on, and I hoped he would return soon. If I had to marry someone, he would be the most suitable choice, though I still don't know if he feels the same way. Once again, it's the spring banquet season. Princess Ronghua hosted a grand banquet at her mansion, inviting noble ladies and young maidens from prominent families in the capital. Along with a host of distinguished young gentlemen and newly rising talents, as in previous years, I was also among the invited. The spring banquet is also an excellent opportunity for unmarried men and women to meet and consider potential matches, and even the princes and princesses from the palace will attend. The imperial consort has also arrived. She has given birth to the 4th prince, the 7th prince, and the 6th princess. Both princes and the princess are not yet betrothed. The 4th prince is 17 years old, while the 6th princess and the 7th prince are twins, both 15 years old. The imperial consort was overly enthusiastic toward me. As soon as she saw me, she took my hand and tried to slip her jade bracelet onto my wrist. I was so frightened that I struggled and, without any regard for decorum, cried out with a wide-open mouth, "It hurts, it hurts." She reluctantly let go of my hand, and my mother, seeing this, apologized to her. Scolding me for having no manners and telling me not to be an eyesore here, I managed to slip away and mingle among a group of young ladies. Now, the matter of my marriage is becoming increasingly urgent. Look, isn't that the new top scholar, Shenyang? The girls all looked towards the pavilion across the lake, and the little girl beside me tugged at my sleeve. "Miss Lu, your father is the teacher of the newly crowned top scholar. Have you ever met him? I wonder if he's already engaged." The little girl blushed, her face full of shyness. Her words drew agreement from the other girls, and they all began asking me questions in a lively chorus. Does young Master Shen really know Sister Lu? I wonder what his family background is like. Young Master Shen is so handsome, like an immortal who stepped right out of a painting. My head is splitting from their noise, and I suppress my smile. Master Shen is an outsider. How could I possibly know him, a banished immortal? That's giving him far too much credit. I sneer inwardly. How could someone who kills without a second thought ever deserve to be called a banished immortal? Perhaps my tone was too harsh. The girls who were just chattering a moment ago now looked awkward. "Sister Lu, we were just asking. Please don't mind us, it's nothing. I'm just feeling a bit unwell and spoke too hastily. Anything related to Shenyang, staying calm is impossible for me. I remember that in my previous life. Shenyang did not attend this banquet. My rebirth has changed many things. Someone suggested taking a painted boat to the lakeside pavilion for fun. Though I had no interest, I didn't want to be left alone, so I had to follow them. As I stepped onto the boat, someone jostled me. causing my foot to slip, and I fell into the water. I can't swim, flailing in the water and choking on several mouthfuls. In the early spring weather, the lake water was icy cold, chilling me to the bone and making me shiver uncontrollably. I've always been afraid of the cold. In this kind of weather, I can't even go without my hand warmer unless I'm basking in the sun. After falling into the water, it didn't take long for my whole body to go numb. Colder than my body was my heart. Without a doubt, this was a scheme targeted at me. I was careless. In my previous life, this spring banquet went smoothly without any mishaps, so I was only guarding against others trying to set me up in a match. I never expected there would be such a twist. Pearl shouted for help on the shore. It's terrible. Please save my lady. My lady has fallen into the water. Just then, 2 splash sounds were heard as 2 people jumped into the water one after another, swimming toward me. My heart sank to the bottom. The 2 people who came were Shenyang and the 4th prince. In this world, women are treated with particular harshness. If a woman falls into the water and is rescued by a man, she is considered to have been touched and lost her purity, making her ineligible to marry anyone else. Back then, Sister Ching from the He family next door, who grew up with my brother and was about to marry him, was pushed into the river during the Lantern Festival one year. She was eventually rescued by a servant from the Duke's residence, but in the eyes of everyone, she was deemed impure. My brother didn't mind after learning about it, but the gossip outside was too much. Sister Ching couldn't come to terms with it and was later found hanging from a beam. The passing of Sister Ching did not cause much of a stir. Only her parents and those of us who were close to her were saddened. My brother became disheartened from then on and never spoke of love again. I did not want to marry either Shenyang or the 4th prince. Thinking about the situation Sister Ching had faced, which I was about to experience, my heart felt as cold as ashes. As they drew closer to me, in my moment of despair, a force lifted me from below. A bronze-colored face emerged from the water, and he spat to the side. Honey, hold on a little longer. The long-lost voice that calls me honey can only be Yang Huai. I can hardly believe it. Yang Huai, is it really you? Honey, long time no see. Yang Huai, I've finally waited for you. I relaxed and stopped struggling, letting him hold me. Yang Huai is the son of Prince Ding. Prince Ding is the only non-imperial prince in our dynasty, commanding a navy of 500,000 troops stationed in the southeastern seas. The Prince Ding family has always remained neutral, never involving themselves in the infighting among the princes. Yang Huai and I grew up together since childhood. He was famously known as a little troublemaker. When we were young, he often made me cry, frequently tugging at my braids and shouting, "Little Yanga, honey, crybaby honey." When he got a bit older, he climbed over the wall of my backyard, waving freshly baked pastries in his hand. "Honey, see what big bro brought you." He got beaten up by my brother several times for climbing over our wall, but he never learned his lesson. Later, when he was 14, he followed Prince Dingen to the East Sea. Over the years, he occasionally wrote me letters and sent some local specialties from the coast, though we haven't seen each other for quite a few years. When we came ashore, the shore was crowded with all kinds of people, men and women, all talking and murmuring, some with sympathy, some with schadenfreude. "Oh my God. Who is that man holding Miss Lu? It's so dark. Could it be a servant? How unlucky is this? No, that person seems to be the Crown Prince of Ding." Pearl's heart still held lingering fear. Thank goodness the Crown Prince has arrived. Lord Shen and the 4th prince are still in the lake. They both wanted to save you. I glanced toward the lake. Shenyang, looking frail and pale, stared at me and Yang Huai as if his soul had left him. I wrapped my arms around Yang Huai's neck and rested my head on his shoulder. Behind Shenyang stood the dejected 4th prince. My mother and the nanny also hurried over. After helping me change clothes, they bid farewell to the princess and prepared to take me home. Yang Huai offered to escort us back. As I boarded the carriage, I caught a glimpse of Shenyang trailing behind us, looking utterly despondent. I lowered my gaze, made no pause, and stepped into the carriage. Yang Huai, on horseback, lifted the curtain of my carriage, tilting his head to look at me. He seemed a bit weary, but his eyes sparkled. "Honey, did I come at just the right time?" "Understood. The timing was too perfect. When did you get back?" He patted the bundle behind the horse. "I didn't even go home, but went straight to your place. The servants at the Lu residence said you went to Princess Ronghua's mansion today. What made you think of coming back? He didn't even return to the capital for the new year. So why did he suddenly come back at this critical moment? In his previous life, he did not return this year. It wasn't until my coming-of-age ceremony that he rushed back, sent a cartload of gifts, and then left. At that time, my heart was entirely devoted to Shenyang, so I only exchanged a few simple greetings with him. After that, I never saw him again. When I got married, he didn't attend, only sending many expensive gifts through someone else. I just wanted to come back to the capital to see. Yang Huai's eyes were bright as he called out softly to me, "Honey." The voice seemed to carry a different emotion. My ears felt slightly warm, and I glared at him before turning my gaze away in embarrassment. He chuckled softly and rambled on as if he had endless things to say. A while ago, I felt so uneasy, with a vague sense that if I didn't come back soon, I might regret it for the rest of my life. "Honey, I'm so glad I made it back in time. I rode on horseback for more than half a month straight to get back. Thinking about it now still makes me shudder. What if I had come back a little later, or if I had gone home to rest first? You might have been saved by another man." I, too, felt a lingering fear in my heart. It was so close, I almost fell into someone else's hands. Thankfully, it was Yang Huai. The carriage had already arrived at the entrance of the Lu residence. The person beside me, seeing that I hadn't responded to him, didn't get angry but instead stared at me intently. My cheeks were burning, my heart was racing, and I shot him an annoyed glare. "What are you looking at?" He scratched his head, looking at Honey. I snorted coldly, and he said in a pitiful voice, "Haven't seen it in a long time." I lowered my head in flustered embarrassment, and he quickly handed me the bundle from his horse. "Some interesting little trinkets I found by the sea, for you to play with." As he was about to leave, he turned back, his expression serious. "Honey, don't worry, I'll write as soon as I get back and have my mother return to the capital to arrange our wedding." I stamped my foot. "Who's worried?" He blinked, grinning. "Honey seems pretty worried to me." "Yang Huai, I'm the one in a hurry." "I'm in a hurry, alright." After saying this, Yang Huai laughed recklessly, turned around, and mounted his horse. "Honey, I'm leaving." After returning to the room, Pearl opened the package sent by Yang Huai, which was filled with an array of shell and pearl jewelry, along with several Western novelties. I thought the young Master Yang was a rough and careless man, but it turns out he's rough on the outside yet attentive on the inside. "Look at the gifts he picked for you, miss. Each one is exquisite and of fine quality. Any one of these Eastern pearls is larger than the ones Madam has on her hand." Yes, he has always been generous. In my previous life, when I came of age, he sent a whole cart of exotic novelties, which stunned everyone present at the time. Shenyang was jealous for quite a while because of it. After the princess consort of Ding returned, she invited my mother to take me to the body temple to offer incense and, while there, ask Master Wenhui to choose an auspicious wedding date. Yang Huai also accompanied us. A young monk at the temple said that the abbot was currently receiving guests and we would need to wait a moment. When it was our turn, it was Shenyang who came out of Master Wenhui's room, his face downcast, and he seemed even thinner. As I looked at him, Shenyang, who had been hanging his head, seemed to sense something and looked up to see me. "Miss Lu." As soon as my mother saw Shenyang, she repeatedly called out to him, "Shenyang, how did you get so thin? I didn't even recognize you." My mother still had a good impression of him. Shenyang coughed softly. "Madam, I caught a cold a few days ago." He looked over our group with a puzzled expression. "Madam, what brings you all here?" The princess consort of Ding spoke briskly. "You must be the newly appointed top scholar." "Right, I've heard of your reputation, young Master Shen. As soon as I returned, since you're a student of Lord Lu, you must come and have a celebratory drink at Yan Huai and Yang Yang's wedding." As soon as the princess consort finished speaking, Shen Yang's face drained of color, standing there unsteadily, unable to speak for a long time. After a long while, he nodded, forcing out a smile that looked more painful than a cry. "Definitely. Definitely." Master Wenhui invited my mother and the princess consort inside. Yang Huai, feeling bored, pulled me along to see the lotuses planted in the temple. It was already summer, the season when lotuses were in full bloom. Yang Huai waded into the pond to pick flowers for me, saying he wanted to gather a large bunch to take back home, as they would last a long time in a vase. While I waited for him on the shore, Jinju suddenly collapsed nearby. Sensing something was wrong, I turned my head and found my mouth covered from behind by someone. It's Shenyang. His presence is all too familiar to me. I am no match for him, so I gave up struggling. He took me to a secluded meditation room before letting go of me. "Mr. Shen, what is the purpose of going to such great lengths to bring me here? Miss Lu, are you really getting married?" "Understood." His eyes were full of doubt, tinged with deep sorrow. "Miss Lu, have we met before? You were my father's student." "My father often praised you at home." Shenyang interrupted me. "You know that's not what I meant. It's as if I've forgotten something. Over the past few months, I've been remembering bits and pieces intermittently. I always feel that you, Miss Lu, are an extremely important person to me. The thought of you marrying someone else makes my heart ache uncontrollably, as if it's being wrenched." I let out a cold laugh. "You jest, young Master Shen. We've met less than 5 times in total, actually. There's no need to go through such great lengths to get close to me. I only wish to marry a gentleman of equal social standing. Please refrain from bothering me in the future, young Master Shen." This last remark was meant as an insult to him, but when I think of all the things he did to the Liu family in our past life, a few insulting words are nothing. He came from a poor background and had extremely strong self-esteem. He absolutely couldn't bear such humiliation and speculation. Shen Yang indeed changed his expression drastically, his face turning pale then purple, his gaze at me both shocked and hurt. "Mr. Shen, although attaching yourself to the Liu family is a broad and smooth path, I truly cannot bring myself to like you. There are many noble ladies of the right age in the capital. Mr. Shen can take your time to choose. Miss Liu, do you despise me?" I lowered my eyes. "No, Mr. Shen is overthinking it. I just dislike this kind of pestering from you." Yang Huai and Zhenju's voices calling for me sounded from outside, and I called back, "Brother Huai, Zhenju, I'm here." Yang Huai rushed in, looking between me and Shen Yang, who were in a standoff. "What are you two doing here? I've been looking all over for you." I linked arms with Yang Huai, fuming. "I don't know. This top scholar said he had something very important to tell me." I was curious, but who knew he'd be so mysterious, insisting that I'm someone important to him. "Brother Huai, isn't that ridiculous?" Yang Huai handed me a lotus flower. There, don't be upset. Look, I picked this for you." As we were descending from the body temple, we were ambushed by black-clad, masked assailants. Arrows whooshed as they shot toward our carriage. The incense at this body temple is very popular, and this road up and down the mountain sees many carriages and horses passing by every day, but at this moment, the entire mountain path was left with only our group, all women. "Take cover inside the carriage. Guards, follow me to face the enemy," Yang Huai shouted loudly. Telling us women to stay inside the carriage and not come out, he fought the black-clad assailants with his guards. Pearl and I were in the same carriage, hearing only the clashing of swords outside. Pearl tightly gripped my hand, trembling uncontrollably, her lips quivering. For this trip to the body temple, the two families had only brought a dozen or so guards in total. We were greatly outnumbered by the black-clad men, and it wasn't long before they closed in on us. The leader, along with several subordinates, closed in on my carriage. Yang Huai stood in front of them, holding off 5 opponents single-handedly, but he was held back by them. The remaining 2 charged straight toward us. One of them raised his sword and slashed at the horse's legs. The world spun around me as the carriage overturned. Pearl and I tumbled out. I felt my head hit the ground hard, and I cried out in pain, "Honey." Yang Huai turned back to see me collapsed on the ground, went mad. His eyes red as he cried out my name hoarsely. He turned around and fiercely charged at the men in black, taking down 3 of the 5 who surrounded him in an instant, leaving only the 2 leaders. At the critical moment, Shen Yang descended from the mountain, picked up a sword from the ground, and swiftly dispatched the 2 men who were trying to seize me. Zhenju supported my back, and I struggled to sit up. Shen Yang reached out to try to pull me. "Miss Liu, are you all right?" I held my forehead and waved my hand. "Thank you, I'm fine." He glanced at me, then turned to fight the black-clad assassin. With Shen Yang joining in, the situation quickly turned around. In the end, seeing no hope of victory, the bandits scattered and fled in all directions. Our carriage was no longer usable, and the one my mother and the others were in had 2 broken wheels, while ours was completely shattered. After a quick bandaging of wounds, everyone decided to proceed on foot down the mountain. My ankle was sprained, and Yang Huai scooped me up in one swift motion, carrying me on his back. Shen Yang's swordsmanship greatly impressed Yang Huai, who even developed a sense of mutual admiration and went so far as to earnestly invite Shen Yang to abandon his literary career and join the military. "Brother Shen, I never expected you to be so accomplished in both literature and martial arts. It's a waste of your talents to just be a Hanlin Academy compiler. Why not come join us in the military camp?" Shen Yang looked at me, who was lying on Yang Huai's back, with a complex expression, then lowered his gaze and declined the invitation, saying his aspirations lay in the imperial court. After the attack incident, both the Liu family and the Ding manor kept a low profile. It seems our 2 families' marriage alliance has offended many people. The current court situation is complex. The Liu family never intended to get involved in the disputes, but there are always those trying to drag my father into the fray. Father has already submitted his resignation to the emperor, citing his advanced age and desire to retire and return to his hometown. The emperor refused several times but eventually agreed, allowing my father to leave his post after the new year. My brother is stationed far in the northwest with the army. He only enjoys staying in the military camp. After I marry, I will follow Yang Huai back to his fiefdom, so there's no point in the Liu family continuing to stay in the capital. Recalling the previous life, because the whole clan was gathered in the capital. They were all slaughtered in less than a day. I tried my best to persuade my parents to move with me to the fiefdom and buy a house near the prince's residence. My parents were a bit hesitant. In the end, they planned to move back to our old home in Jiangnan after my wedding, as it's less than 100 miles from the fiefdom of the Prince of Ding. The wedding date chosen by Master Wenhui for us is set for next March, which is only a few months away. My mother has declined all sorts of gatherings for young ladies on my behalf, keeping me at home every day to embroider my wedding dress. News from the outside still reaches my ears from time to time. The most talked about topic is undoubtedly Shenyang, who has entered the Hanlin Academy and is said to have gained the emperor's deep trust. This time, when we were attacked, his act of drawing his sword and stepping forward was widely publicized, and now his reputation is even greater. With both literary and martial talents, and a handsome appearance, Shenyang has become a target for recruitment by various powerful and noble families. Several prominent families wanted to marry their daughters to him, but he politely declined each time. It is said that the sixth princess is quite infatuated with him, blocking his path every day. Shenyang certainly had no desire to become the emperor's son-in-law. He had worked so hard to climb to his current position, how could he give it up halfway? Moreover, he held a deep-seated hatred for our Lu family. Becoming the emperor's son-in-law would mean cutting all ties to power. Recalling his heartless and ruthless annihilation of the Lu family in my past life, my heart still turns cold with dread. My hand, holding the embroidery needle, trembled and pricked my finger, drawing a few drops of blood. I lowered my gaze to the blood on my hand and froze for a moment. Pearl, who had been chattering beside me, noticed my silence and turned to look, only to see that my hand was pricked. "Miss, your hand is bleeding. Why didn't you say anything?" "It's nothing." "What is a little pain like this?" "Miss, how come I find you so different from before?" "Really, it always feels like you've become a different person. In the past, you used to be quite delicate at the slightest bump or bruise." I rubbed my forehead. I was young and foolish back then. "And about young Master Shen, I remember you used to secretly go see him before the exam results were announced, but after he topped the list and became the top scholar, you suddenly became distant. Isn't that just a moment of impulsiveness? It was just a fleeting curiosity. Upon second thought, it wouldn't be suitable for a long-term relationship." Pearl stared at me, seemingly unconvinced. "But what's strange is that Lord Shen, the sixth princess, wanted to take him as her consort, but he didn't agree. Instead, he accepted the proposal from the Duke of An's household and is set to become engaged to the Duke's legitimate daughter, Xie Binjing. Oh, that is quite interesting. He had always refused to get married before, hadn't he? The Duke of Anghua's Xie family is the maternal family of Consort Yun, who gave birth to the third prince and the eighth prince. The third prince is a top contender for the throne. His consort is the eldest daughter of the Xie family, while Xie Binjing, who is engaged to Shenyang, is the second daughter. By this calculation, Shenyang and the third prince are now brothers-in-law. However, with Shenyang's ambition, how could he honestly support the third prince? I wonder if the Duke of Anghua will regret it in the future. In the previous life, aside from the younger princes, all the other princes were eliminated by him. As for Shenyang's so-called irreconcilable enmity with my brother, I don't know what it specifically refers to. This matter must be discussed thoroughly with the family after my brother returns, so we can take precautions early. I met Shenyang again at the autumn chrysanthemum viewing banquet. I had been confined at home for months when the Empress hosted a chrysanthemum viewing banquet in the palace. My mother initially forbade me from going out, but Yang Huai, feeling sorry for me, brought the Ding princess consort to plead on my behalf, and my mother had no choice but to agree. The seats for the Lu family and the Ding prince's residence were next to those of the Anghua duke's family. Shenyang and Xie Binjing walked in side by side, capturing the attention of everyone present. Shenyang seemed to have dressed up deliberately today, wearing an ivory-white brocade robe and a mutton-fat jade crown, appearing both noble and elegant. Beside him, Xie Binjing wore a light blue fairy-style dress. Looking playful and lively, everyone praised them as a perfect match. Shenyang spotted our table and walked over, greeting my parents. The usually domineering Xie Binjing seemed to have changed her temperament, following obediently behind Shenyang and sweetly calling out to me, "Miss Lu, I heard you've already started embroidering your wedding dress. Could you teach me how?" Shenyang's gaze drifted past me almost imperceptibly as he nodded in acknowledgement to Yang Huai. I cleared my throat softly. "I'm not very good at embroidery. I always have to ask the embroiderer for advice." Xie Binjing walked over and took my hand. "My dear sister, don't be so modest. Also, I heard the fabric for your wedding dress is a tribute from Nanchuan Kingdom. I'm not sure, Brother Huai brought it. The fiefdom of the Ding Prince is quite prosperous. and the gifts Yang Huai sends me are usually quite rare. When he heard I was going to embroider my wedding dress, he brought over several bolts of fabric for me to choose from. I'm so envious. Young Master Yang is really thoughtful toward you, sister. Isn't young Master Shen also very good to you? Xie Binjing blushed, her eyes filled with affection as she glanced toward Shen Yang. Shen Yang didn't seem to notice, so Xie Binjing had no choice but to walk over, sit beside him, and tug at his sleeve. Brother Yang, what are you looking at? Not far away, the imperial consort arrived with 2 princes and the 6th princess. As soon as the 6th princess spotted Shen Yang, she made her way over. Has young Master Shen also come? Without even glancing at Xie Binjing, the 6th princess plopped herself down right beside Shen Yang. Mr. Shen, I recently painted a piece. Could you help me revise it? At the palace, Consort Yun and the noble consort had never gotten along, and Xie Binjing was not one to hold back. And she calls herself a princess. What kind of behavior is it to cling to someone else's fiancé every day? The 6th princess lifted her chin. That's right, who says I can't be? As a princess, I am indeed superior. Xie Binjing refused to back down and retorted sarcastically, yet no one wants you, neither was willing to yield, and it seemed a fight was about to break out. Shen Yang had no choice but to step in and mediate. Both of them were top-tier figures. Shen Yang could strategize and maneuver with ease in the court, but he had no experience in mediating between 2 women at the pinnacle of power. Before long, he ended up being criticized by both sides. It wasn't until the Empress arrived that the 2 finally ceased their conflict. The scene had only been quiet for a short while when someone spotted Yang Huai and began to mock him sarcastically. Lord Yang, I remember you were an unruly troublemaker in your youth. Who would have thought that a man like you would now be following behind Miss Lu, peeling shrimp for her? After marrying her, won't he have to treat her like a goddess? A man living like this is truly pathetic. Before Yang Huai went to the East Sea, he often got into fights in the capital. He had been tall and strong since childhood, and no one could beat him. It doesn't surprise me that people still hold grudges against him. All eyes suddenly focused on me and Yang Huai, and whispers began to rise again around us. Yang Huai wasn't annoyed and replied with a smile, I was young and ignorant back then. If I offended you, I hope you can forgive me. As for peeling shrimp, Honey likes to eat them. And I'm happy to peel them for her. Being useless isn't about how you act at home, it's about having no skills, achieving nothing, and relying on your parents for everything. That's what being useless means. Yang Huai finished speaking and looked at me with a smile. Honey, although these crabs can't compare to those freshly caught from the sea, I just tried one and it tastes pretty good. Would you like me to peel one for you? Yang Huai's reply was impressive. And the women in the family began to praise him one after another. A man like Lord Yang, who achieves great deeds outside and cherishes his family at home, is what you call a true gentleman. I have to say, the Yang heir and Miss Lu are really a good match. I thought Miss Lu should be with a scholar, but being with a rough guy like the Yang heir doesn't feel out of place at all. This young couple is so sweet, it makes others envious. Xie Binjing, standing nearby, tugged at Shen Yang's sleeve. Brother Yang, I want to eat shrimp too. Shen Yang's gaze lingered on me, his eyes filled with suppressed restraint. Xie Binjing, standing nearby, nudged him with her elbow. Look how happy Sister Lu is, you should peel some shrimp for me too. I don't know how. Shen Yang withdrew his gaze. It wasn't that he didn't know how, he simply didn't want to. In this lifetime, can't he even be bothered to coax someone? March 12th, the day I married Yang Huai. The Lu Manor and the Ding Prince's mansion, which had been quiet for nearly a year, finally became lively again. Shen Yang, as my father's student, naturally came to attend. He arrived particularly early that day, coming over as soon as the sky began to lighten at dawn. While everyone was busy, he barged into my chamber, looking as if he hadn't slept all night, his expression haggard, his eyes red-rimmed as he gripped my wrist tightly. Yang, are you really going to marry Yang Huai, Lord Shen? It's hardly proper for you to barge into my chamber so early in the morning. You've remembered too, haven't you? So that's why you've been so cold and indifferent to me, ignoring me. Jiao, we are husband and wife. You were always meant to be my wife. How could you be so heartless as to marry someone else? Since the autumn banquet, I haven't seen him again, only hearing fragments of words from others. I heard he got promoted again and is closely associated with the third prince's faction. The Duke of Angua is quite pleased with this prospective son-in-law. At court, the third prince's influence is growing stronger. His grand wedding with Xie Binjing is scheduled for this autumn. Lord Shen, are you perhaps speaking nonsense? I have only met you a few times. How can you say such things, making it difficult for a young woman like me to maintain her composure? Moreover, you and Miss Xie are about to be married. I wish you and Miss Xie a harmonious and loving marriage that lasts a lifetime. Enough, Yang. Don't say any more. I won't marry her. You know very well that my relationship with her is just a pretense, there is no genuine affection. Then do you have genuine affection for me? Her, is the so-called affection you speak of sending over 300 members of the Lu family to their deaths? Shen Yang's face drained of color, filled with regret. And he pleaded with me in a low voice. Yang, I was wrong. You have no idea how much I regret it, Your Excellency. Such a loss of composure, if others were to see it. How could I ever hold my head up in society again? Shen Yang's grip on my wrist loosened slightly, and I took the opportunity to pull my hand back. Yang, I know you're getting back at me. The most painful thing in both of my lives has been losing you. You marrying someone else hurts me more than death itself. I remember everything now. I was wrong. Give me a chance to make it up to you. Please, Shen Yang, how dare you? With the lives of over 300 people from the Lu family, how could you ever ask for my forgiveness? Footsteps echoed from outside. I took a deep breath, hardened my expression, and issued the order to leave. Please go back, sir. He took a gift box out of his pocket and placed it on the table. This is a gift I chose for you. Footsteps grew closer and closer. He stared at me with wide eyes, as if wanting to say something but holding back, looking very unwilling, before finally hurrying away from the back. The wedding gift he gave me was a comb made of mutton fat white jade. Holding this comb, the familiar feel of it in my hand made me dizzy for a moment. In my past life, he had bought me an identical comb just like this one, and I had loved it so much that I used it to comb my hair every day. He would often help me style my hair and draw my eyebrows. We were married for 5 years, treating each other with the utmost respect and affection, and could be considered a loving couple. Only on the last day did I realize that all the affection he showed was nothing but lies meant to lull us into complacency. How utterly ridiculous. Pearl, along with the other maids, was helping to take stock of the gifts when she spotted the white jade comb. Miss, that comb in your hand is so beautiful. Which young lady sent it? Will this be the one to use for combing hair later? Pearl's successive questions pulled my thoughts back. I placed the comb back into the gift box and closed the lid. Give this comb to Xie Binjing for me. In this lifetime, I no longer have any connection with Shen Yang. Whether he gave me the comb on my wedding day by coincidence or on purpose, it was an improper gesture. And in that box on the dressing table, there is a hairpin. Send that to her as well. 2 months ago, when I came of age, Shen Yang also came to give a gift, a jade hairpin. In my previous life, he had given me one just like it. Was he trying to evoke my memories with these old things? How laughable. Let's use the one Brother Huai sent a few days ago for my hair. Pearl giggled. Oh right. How could I forget the one sent by young Master Yang? The one from him seems even more precious. She took out the white jade comb, holding it in her hand, somewhat reluctant to part with it. If someone gave it to you, why give it to Miss Xie? Hurry and take it to her, so you don't forget later when things get busy. Alright. I just saw Miss Xie and the other young ladies still waiting in the front hall. After saying this, she took the box and walked out. My mother came in with the bridal attendant, and everyone began to say auspicious words as they started to thread my face and comb my hair. First comb, may you respect each other and live in happiness and health. Second comb, may your life be free from worries, peaceful and joyful. With 3 combs, may we grow old together, never to part. Gazing at this face in the mirror, silently repeating their blessings in my heart. In this lifetime, may our whole family be happy and well. Outside, the sound of music and celebration began to play, and someone shouted, "The groom has arrived." Pearl said that the young master of Yang came riding a tall horse, leading the wedding procession with a grand sedan chair carried by 8 bearers to welcome me. My mother corrected her. From now on, you should call him your master. Pearl stuck out her tongue. Understood, madam. My brother carried me out, and just as I was about to enter the sedan chair, he hesitated to let me go, making Yang Huai extremely anxious. The girl I've had my eye on since I was 12, how could I not treat her well? Only after Yang Huai repeatedly assured him did my brother finally place my hand in his. At the Prince Ding's banquet, guests were as numerous as clouds, and even the emperor made an appearance. After the ceremony concluded, Yang Huai was dragged away by a group of brothers to drink, and by the time he was brought back, he was completely drunk. Shen Yang, also heavily intoxicated, followed behind. After everyone had left, he stood at the door of our bridal chamber, crying and making a scene, refusing to leave for a long time. Miss, what's wrong with Lord Shen today? He's drunk and throwing a tantrum, and we can't even pull him away. What should we do, miss? Pearl was so worried that she paced back and forth in the room. My veil hasn't been lifted yet, so I had Pearl help me to the doorway. It's getting late, Lord Shen, if you refuse to leave. Is it because you wish to watch me and Brother Huai consummate our marriage? Shen Yang stopped his crying and grew quiet. Then I, Shen, wish Miss Lu and Prince Yang a long and happy union. I will not disturb you again. Farewell. Shen Yang's tone was filled with sorrow. Pearl muttered beside them. Why does Lord Shen seem so lost and dejected, as if his soul has left him? Pearl helped me back to the bedside. Yan Huai was snoring, so I asked Pearl to fetch some water to help him wash up. No sooner had Pearl stepped out than the person lying on the bed climbed up. Darling, your husband is here to lift your red veil. There was no trace of drunkenness in his voice. The red veil was lifted from my head, and I met a pair of smiling eyes. If I didn't pretend to be drunk, they would keep forcing me to drink. And that Shen Yang, he's clearly trying to make things difficult for me. I was thinking that I mustn't delay tonight's wedding night with Honey, so I simply admitted defeat early. But darling, I heard everything you just said to Shen Yang, so it turns out Honey is just as impatient as I am. I gave him a pinch, but he caught my hand and gently pulled me, and I fell into his arms. Yang Huai picked me up. Honey, you don't know how long I've waited for this day. Not long after the wedding, my brother returned to the military camp in the northwest. After my parents had packed up, they went south with us. We might rarely return to the capital in the future. Yang Huai told me about the customs and scenery of the south along the way. In his words, it was warm all year round, with spring-like seasons. There was an endless sea, with waters as blue as the sky. Honey, you're so afraid of the cold, that place would be perfect for you. My mother has gotten used to living there and doesn't want to return to the capital at all. If it weren't for arranging our wedding, she wouldn't even be willing to come back. Hearing his words, I couldn't help but feel a sense of longing. In my previous life, those short 20 years were spent entirely within the capital, following the rules, confined to the inner chambers. In this life, I want to travel far and wide, to see the diverse landscapes of this vast land. We were halfway there when news came from the capital. The Duke of Angua and his family, along with the third prince, were accused of rebellion. Consort Yun was confined to the cold palace, while the third and eighth princes were stripped of their titles and placed under lifelong house arrest as commoners. Except for Shen Yang, all members of the third prince's faction were dismissed from their posts and had their properties confiscated, completely dismantling the faction's influence. Shen Yang was the emperor's blade. And this time he executed his duties flawlessly, earning a direct promotion to Minister of Personnel. My father held the letter from the capital, his face full of shock, exclaiming that the younger generation was truly formidable. I wasn't surprised by this outcome. In his previous life, he had already reached the pinnacle of power. In this life, with memories of the past, he would only be stronger. My hand unconsciously clenched into a fist. Wondering how he had found out in his past life that he had wrongly executed the Lu family. Shen Yang's hometown is in the northwest, and his brother's garrison is also there. The last time my brother returned to the capital, I asked him if he had ever accidentally injured or killed anyone in the military camp. He thought for a long time and very confidently told me that he had only ever killed enemies on the battlefield. I told my brother about the doubts in my heart. After thinking for a moment, he said that he had once lost his identity token a few years ago. He suspected that Xie Yu had taken it. At that time, my brother held the position of cavalry commandant in the military camp, which allowed him to come and go freely. On the days he lost his token, Xie Yu had been absent from the camp, and it was very likely that Xie Yu had taken his token to go out drinking and carousing. Xie Yu, the second legitimate son of Duke Angua, was an idle and unaccomplished man. As the second son, he couldn't inherit the title, so he was sent to the military camp for a few years to gain some military achievements. He eventually returned home and secured a fifth-rank official position. Later, while drinking with Shen Yang, my brother brought up the matter of the lost identity token from years ago. I'm not sure whether Shen Yang believed him or not. By the time we reached Jiangnan, it was already early summer. The warm, humid climate of the south suited me well. After spending some time at the Lu family's old residence, I reluctantly bid farewell to my parents and set off for the fiefdom with Yang Huai. Fortunately, the two places were not far apart, just a day's journey by carriage. The Ding Manor had a simple household. The princess consort was a straightforward person and didn't require me to observe the daily morning and evening courtesies. In her words, those old customs were just meant to torment daughters-in-law, and she had no use for them. After returning to the fiefdom, Yang Huai would go to the military camp during the day and only come back in the evening. The princess consort, fearing I might be bored, often took me out shopping, eating and drinking, and attending local ladies' tea parties. The scenery here is beautiful. Whenever Yang Huai had a day off, he would take me hiking and to see the sea. Compared to the capital, life here was more leisurely and pleasant. Time passed quickly, and the Ding Palace would occasionally receive news from the capital. In their conversations, Shen Yang was always the center of attention. Later, It was heard that the old emperor had passed away, and Shenyang assisted the 8-year-old young prince in ascending the throne. He still reached the pinnacle of power, just as he had in his previous life, only this time, we have finally become strangers, separated by the north and south, worlds apart, never to meet again. Side story, Shenyang's perspective. I was born in a small town on the northwestern frontier. My parents died in the war. My sister dug for herbs in the mountains during the day and did embroidery work at night to support my younger brother and me, and to pay for my schooling. The year I turned 12, and she was 17, my sister went into the mountains to gather herbs and never returned. My sister was tortured to death. Her brother, who had gone into the mountains with her, was terrified and only brought back a token with the name Lu Cheng on it. No one could understand how I felt at that moment. My mind was consumed by the thought of revenge. When I showed the token to others, they said it was an identity tag from the military camp, not far from our village. There were indeed stationed troops. Later, I found out that there really was a person named Lu Cheng, said to be from a noble family, with his father being the grand tutor in the capital. I wanted to fight him to the death, but I couldn't even get close to him. I heard he was a minor leader. I buried my hatred deep in my heart. Fortunately, I had always been a good student. At the age of 16, I achieved first place in the provincial examination. Finally, I left that barren land and arrived in the bustling capital. The first time I met Lu Qingyang was actually on the day I first arrived in the capital, dusty and disheveled from the journey. Her maid, rushing back after buying pastries, bumped into me. All the pastries fell to the ground, and the maid was a bit annoyed, ready to scold me. She poked her head out of the sedan chair, her oval face still carrying a hint of baby fat, with 2 small dimples appearing at the corners of her mouth when she smiled. She scolded the maid in a low voice. "You're the one who walks carelessly. Don't blame others. They're just a few snacks. If they fell, just go buy more." When the maid brought back the breakfast again, she took 2 large steamed buns and handed them to me. "Big brother, you just arrived in the capital, right? Haven't had breakfast yet. Let me treat you." As an apology, she looked at me with a smile, her cheeks puffed out like a rabbit's, utterly adorable. Later, I made a point to inquire about the Grand Tutor's family and saw her again. Someone pointed her out to me, saying, "Well, that's the daughter of Grand Tutor Lu, named Lu Qingyang." I was both overjoyed and saddened. Overjoyed because I would see her again and finally learn her name, saddened because she was the daughter of the Grand Tutor. Through my deliberate efforts, I quickly gained a reputation among the scholars. I caught the attention of the Grand Tutor of the court, who greatly admired me, took me on as his student, and even hinted at betrothing his daughter to me. I did not refuse. She might have also received hints from home. Once, when buying paper and ink, I ran into her at the bookstore. She kept stealing glances at me, and later asked me which type of ink would be suitable for a woman writing in small regular script. She thought she was acting very composed, which I found amusing in secret, but I still answered her with a straight face. After the imperial examination ended, Grand Tutor Lu formally proposed his daughter's hand in marriage to me and asked for my opinion. I replied, "I leave it entirely to my teacher's discretion." The Grand Tutor was very pleased and said that on the day the results were announced, he would catch a son-in-law under the list and settle the marriage in advance, so that the old emperor wouldn't keep thinking about it. On the day the results were announced, I overslept, as if trapped in a nightmare, unable to wake up. In the dream, Lu Qingyang, covered in blood, collapsed in my arms, his expression full of despair. "Shenyang. In the next life, let's not meet again." I called her name loudly, trying to wake her up. She gradually lost her vitality in my arms, her body growing cold. In the freezing snow, I was left alone, holding her and crying my heart out. In the end, it was the person bringing good news who knocked on the door and woke me up. When I got up, I found the pillow towel was soaked with tears. The person outside the door congratulated me on achieving the top score in the imperial examination. Yet, I felt no joy. The images from my nightmare weighed on my chest like a stone, leaving me breathless. There was only one thought in my mind. I had to see Lu Qingyang immediately. When I arrived at the Lu residence and she appeared before me, only to reject my proposal and declare that she had someone else in her heart and would marry no one but him, my heart shattered. Her gaze, though seemingly calm, carried an endless hatred that left me utterly hopeless. Yang. The name escaped my lips as if I had called it out 1,000 times before. The weight on my chest felt like it was crushing me, and I coughed up a mouthful of blood. "I believe it would be more appropriate, Master Shen, if you addressed me as Miss Lu." Her coldness and detachment made me truly understand what heart-wrenching pain feels like. Later, in my dreams every night, I recalled so many things. She married me, calling me husband in a sweet, soft voice, Countless times I wanted to be harsh with her, but the moment I met her eyes, my heart would melt. The more I remember, the more pain I feel. I think these must be memories from my past life. By the time she was about to get married, I had remembered everything. In this life, she resolutely drew a clear line between us, and I watched helplessly as she walked away with another man. She and that person are deeply in love, and every time I see them, it feels as if my heart is being carved out. This is what I deserve. In my previous life, she knelt on the ground, begging me to spare her family. She even said she was pregnant, but I thought she was lying. Not only did I not believe her, but I also humiliated her. In front of her, I slaughtered over 300 members of her clan, drove her parents to their deaths, and killed her brother. In the end, in despair, she threw herself onto my sword. I never intended to kill her, I only wanted her to taste the bitterness of despair. Her brother had humiliated and murdered my sister. Was it so wrong for me to wipe out her entire clan in return? She was so delicate, embroidering a pouch for me, and even a prick from the needle would bring tears to her eyes. I never thought she would take her own life. She was never the type to be so resolute. I never expected her to throw herself so decisively onto my sword. How could someone so afraid of pain endure such agony? I held her in my arms, saying I was wrong, begging her to look at me one more time, but she never responded to me again. The one who always followed behind me, calling me husband in that soft, tender voice, is truly gone. I held her tightly in my arms, trying to warm her up. My young was always afraid of the cold. Every winter she would slip her hands into my chest to seek warmth. But now, no matter how tightly I held her, she wouldn't respond to me. I carried her all the way home, whispering, Young, wake up, we're going home. Only after returning to the mansion did I realize she hadn't lied to me. She really was carrying our child. The maids in the mansion were even cheerfully holding up bolts of fabric, saying they were going to make clothes for the unborn little master. I am filled with immense pain and regret. Why didn't I trust her? Why didn't I wait a little longer, or investigate a bit more? In this life, I want to repent and make amends. I went to ask Master Wenhui, and he only told me the causes of the past life, the consequences of the future. After remembering everything in this life, I fueled the fire before the emperor and had the Angua Duke's entire family imprisoned. Xie, that coward, knelt before me in repentance, admitting that he had stolen Lu Cheng's identity token to sneak out of the military camp for fun, and that he was the one who violated and killed my sister. He and Lu Cheng had always been at odds. After being beaten by Lu Cheng, he held a grudge and pushed Lu Cheng's fiancée into the water, then ordered his old servant to rescue her and tarnish her purity. The person kneeling before me wore a smug expression. That fool Lu Cheng only knows how to wield weapons. He'd never guess it was all my doing. Thinking of the man I pierced through the heart in my past life, I am filled with immense guilt. I ordered Xie to be executed by 1,000 cuts. In both lifetimes, my political career has been smooth. In the previous life, with the support of the Lu family and my own scheming, I held great power in my 20s. In this life, without the Lu family, I still have the memories of my past life. I chose the same path as in my previous life, well aware of the benefits that power brings. In this life, I attained the highest authority even faster than in the last, lacking only the title of emperor. Yet, I can never have her again. She said in the next life she would be a stranger to me, and she kept her word. While I am left to repay this debt across 2 lifetimes, the happiest time in both lives was the period after we married. After losing her, I have wandered through each day like a walking corpse. My heart has no room for anyone else anymore. I once made a high-profile appearance with a woman from the Xie family, thinking she would be jealous, but she didn't even glance our way, just nestled beside Yang Huai, obediently eating the shrimp he peeled for her. In our past life, it was the same. She was always so delicate, and I always spoiled her. She found eating fish and shrimp troublesome, yet she craved them, so I would always peel the shrimp and pick out the fish bones for her. Everyone praised them as a perfect match, and it broke my heart. I am no longer worthy. I devote all my energy to state affairs. Everyone calls me a treacherous minister, but I have no regrets. Even if the whole world despises me, I will still dominate everything. Only in this way can I protect her. Year after year, the end.